this on right now. It's very nice.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to shout out and thank you to Mary Palmer. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to keep going. However, it was brought to my attention that Mr. Ward, the communications director, as scheduled, was supposed to do his after lunch, and therefore was going to arrive. So it's been suggested that we just kind of move his down and keep kind of going. If there's no objection to that, then we can just do that. Mr. Wilford, if you want to formalize it.
Yeah, I was just going to lay it on the table so we can pick it up whenever we're ready.
Okay, and so then if we do that, then we have to then vote to move that.
Yeah, it's George Ray.
Okay, so there is a motion to table the communication report. I need silence in the room, please. I have people asking questions and I cannot hear them.
The motion to table was until when?
No, I think you're confusing with motion to postpone. A motion to table lays it on the table until we vote to take it from the table.
Okay.
So it's until we decide.
Okay.
So we can do that after lunch when he's here, or whatever it's most appropriate to keep it flowing. Okay, so we have a motion to table the communications report until the appropriate time pending Mr. Ward's arrival. And it has been seconded. Is there any objection to that? All right, so we're doing it. Development.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
First of all, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot that you show up. It's a big deal. I've always said this. I've been coming to Slec meetings for many years now, and it's always reassuring and exciting for me to see people who are willing to show up and do the work and ask the hard questions to keep this party running. So thank you guys. I put in my report. You can look at whatever you want to look at on there. I'm just going to tell you a little bit of, the backstory part of my life, which is not very exciting. But the exciting part is I have a really great team. Matt was in here. Okay, well, my team is Judy Lehman, and I got Matthew Gibbs, and Joe Burns is back in Texas. Joe. I feel very fortunate to have people who like to work together and who like to work with me. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's going really well. I heard from Mike, he's like, I need more volunteers. I'm like, oh man, I have an amazing team. So a couple of things that have happened between last quarter, the officers were like, it's kind of been a slow quarter. No, not for me. I don't have a lot of exciting numbers to report this time because right now, as Kate explained, they have the numbers are scattered. We can't really consolidate them, so I can get you accurate data. But I promise I've been working every single day to work those numbers out to where it's up to date and accurate. We have one new lifetime member, someone I don't even know. His name is Jared Henderson. It's kind of exciting. And then within this quarter, we had a pretty big donor. Sometimes all it really takes is a kind phone call and a chat. That goes a long way from where I sit or stand at my desk. And I don't know where that gets reported, but it was a good chunk. It was $10,000. Yes. So that was very timely considering our transition right now, and it looks like numbers are dropping off. But what's really cool to me, as I'm contacting people to tell them we have a new credit card processor, that sounds a lot more manageable, I think, to people when I tell them that versus, we have a new CRM. Most people don't even know what a CRM is, but if you just tell them we have a new payment processor, like, oh, okay. And I honestly forgot where I was going with that, sorry. In that process, a lot of people have been raising their donation amount. It's been really great. I say, okay, well, I need you to do this. They go there like, well, it was previously this much, and and I'm gonna bump that up because of this process. So that's been reassuring for me as well. Let's see. Judy and I meet every other week in person, and we have been slogging away, continuing to slog away at the Donor Appreciation Program Awards, DAPPers for short. We start using that real fast. We have to say that a lot. So there's a lot of yellow envelopes going out. We have the first chunk of all the active donors because it goes back to January of 2021. So it's accumulated donations from that point on, and then we don't have, since we've transitioned twice for our CRM, it's hard to grab that data. So it's a lot of physically looking at printouts from QuickBooks. Anyway, accounting software. And so we've got the bulk of that is actually done. That was our goal to have done. She couldn't come this morning because she got sick, but she was going to be here. So I would give her props. I have brochures with me. They're in my car. I bring them out of lunch. So a lot of people have been asking. I don't know if y'all know this, but I inherited the supplies that Carter gathered and created, the booth in a box, stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of the storage facility, wherever that ends up, because right now I have development department stuff, and I have booth in a box and lots of extra stuff and tens, Anyway, I'm a big fan of that. So
I live in a condo and I drive a sports car, just letting you know.
What?
I live in a condo, which is not huge, and I drive a sports car. So
I have a minivan. So I have some in Spanish and English, and you guys have been asking about those. I will have the boxes in with me after lunch. So if you want some of those, I will be in the back of the room and be happy to hand you a stack or whatever you need. So my two little stories that go with my report today are, the first one is the transfer process. Andrew stole a little bit of my thunder on this one, that's okay. I'm quite giddy about it. I started out calling, as some of you know in this room, I started calling every single donor. Like that, a literal phone call, because that makes a big difference. And I followed that up with an email. A lot of it was like a templated email, but it was still the process. It still took time. And in the middle of that process, after contacting over 100 people, Nation Builder reached out to us and said, hey, could we have a conversation? It looks like you guys are still trying to transfer over. Could we have a conversation about the program that we have? Absolutely. And they have, it's still in beta process, and so that means we're going to get to be the guinea pig that way, even though they've assured us they've worked out a lot of that. And there might be some instances where I might have to call 1 or 2 people, which is fine, because then I don't have to call 200 people. That we're going to get it for free, because it's in beta, so it won't cost us any more to do that process. So that's kind of exciting. Yeah. So then the other thing I want to mention, I've been listening to a lot of talk about Nation Builder and the learning curve. It's pretty big. But there is a lot of information online. You could flat out Google how to do this in Nation Builder, and more than likely you will find out what you need to know. But in the meantime, I've decided that I would like my team to be Nation Builder ninjas, and I put it out there in a recent communication that I want all of us, all 4 of us, to be well-versed in Nation Builder, not only for our team, because everything that we do now is dependent on that knowledge, but also so that we can help you guys in any way. So if someone has a question, I would like my team to be those experts. So I'm a little bit excited about that as well. So the nice thing about getting unhandcuffed from the Nation Builder transfer is that I got to make a couple of phone calls for sponsorship for the evening we're having tonight. And so that was really nice. I feel very supported by you guys and by the leadership here in the body. It makes my job a lot more fun, which it really should be. Looking ahead, we're excited about convention. We're excited about using that as another opportunity to have another record year. My goal and my team's goal is to keep raising the bar. So I'm grateful for that. I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any questions?
I have 2. So I'll start with the one that I think is going to be most currently addressed by you, the other one maybe are more IT related.
Okay.
So looking at the proposed budget, one of my bigger concerns is the depth to which we are cutting your budget. I kind of, in my mind, see your budget as a pseudo budget. It looks really nice on the very bottom line. When we cut out your budget, you know, cut out that'd be fine, but the bottom line of your budget is money gets spent at your department when we're making money. So, you know, if we allocated $100,000, we would spend if we're making $1 million or whatever the number is. And secondly, whatever number we put here, a lot of this stuff is obligations, whether it's obligations to you, through your contract, or obligations to our donors to give them back for what they're donating. So I guess the really short version, one more thing. I also expect us to be about to take out fines. One or two things I think is going to happen with the presidential candidate. We're going to have one of the less comments citing presidential candidates, and by that I don't mean we don't love them or they're not principled. I mean the general public loves them when they start to flock in and give us money. Given who is likely to be running the other two parties, I don't expect that to happen. What I do expect is after someone is elected, that half the country is going to be very unhappy, and we're going to then see a flood of donations at that point, no matter who wins. So my question to you is, given that information I just regurgitated, what are your thoughts on the cuts being made to your department?
I signed off on it. That we talked about it at length. I'm okay with it for now because I like better safe than sorry, for lack of a better term. You know, it does look better. You know, and we don't really we don't do the like take top donors to lunch sort of thing. So that it's hard to figure that out. As far we have some expenses buying donor appreciation program awards. Those are going to last us a little while. And then we've got conventions. So we don't have a lot of use for that right now. And as far as my job goes, I trust this body that if I'm really killing it and we're bringing it in, that it would not be that difficult to come to you guys and say, hey, this is what's happening. Can we increase this amount? That's my understanding that that's an option, and I'm okay with that.
Fair enough. The other question I had is more on the technical side of this new beta program. So you talk about transferring donors, and having dealt with this a lot,
Yeah.
I have a lot of knowledge in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, at least in the past, there have been legal hurdles in getting someone's credit card processing and moving it. So are we talking about taking authorized, which I think is where most people are right now, and just redirecting the data so the data starts coming to Nation Builder, or moving our donors to the credit card processor? Like, what is the details on how that transfer is going to work?
I think it had, yeah, I'm going to let Andrew answer
Yeah,
that.
it's a move to Stripe, a version of Stripe called Stripe Express. It's a little simplified since we can get the other features that standard Stripe would have. We want to beat that as well. And this is what is designed to integrate with Nation Builder and their donation for each one of those pages, and so it gives us a little more flexibility.
So
yes, the short answer is we're moving from authorized to Stripe.
So then my second question is, and I'm actually surprised this is allowed, though I'm not sure if it is this going to require some kind of like check the box sign off by to the donors to move the processing, or is it just, I guess, your Nation Builder side, something they can just do? I don't know the specifics.
I believe they're signing up, right? You're actually signing them up in Nation.
Well, my understanding is that after this, we won't have to sign people up to read their donation. We are moving their donation. Is that
Correct.
so? Is that going to require them
their
when they get?
donation history will be keeping their transaction history out of authorized, and that's going to save us a whole nother however much time that would take to try to rebuild their donation.
Of course, yes, that's awesome. Okay, so it's not going to require them to go in and get an email or something, check a box, like it's just going to happen.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Any other questions of my favorite?
So for the county affiliates or other organizations that are also using Nation Builder, does our subscription and utilization of Nation Builder allow our nation builders to talk to one another?
Can I address this one?
Um,
So allowing nations to talk is already a standard feature no matter what level you're on. There's a little bit of complication in it, at least unless they have made updates, which I hope they have and we're good. But what you have to use is a tagging sort of method. So what they would need to do is get in contact with you, and they get a nation builder ID from your nation. They would do a filter and say everybody in this geological region of Harris County, and they would put a kind of tag on there that says, hey, share these contacts with Harris County. And that's good. The only problem is those tags are connected to contacts and not necessarily to a search. So as new people come into Harris or leave Harris or whatever, it won't update what you can see. So
You have to manually reset.
yeah, every month you have to refilter and remove tags and add them. Hopefully they fix that and you can still apply to a filter now. But last I saw it was that.
Okay, you asked me.
whatever you want to say.
Well, yeah, everything you said, and then just looking down the road a little bit, one of the reasons we are engaged with Nation Builder at the level that we have an account manager is because he is coaching us on best practices and getting things going faster than if we had to pour through 100 tutorial videos or something, like keeping hands-on code. Right now, the emphasis is on fundraising, and like when I said we're going to do an end-of-year fundraise, he's working with us to make sure we're implementing whatever they know about best practices for online fundraising. When we get that problem solved, and everybody's super happy with Nation Builder, and we have more people using the system, there is a higher level of service. There's an add-on, if you will, called Nation Builder Network that would enable us to do exactly that thing. But it's integrated and it's data sharing, and it's a pretty cool system. We can't afford it right now, but it's something to look forward to.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we want to break this into for political action. We're entering the exciting election season. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Sorry. We're in the exciting election cycle. So today opens up the filing, and I do have copies of applications for office. So if anyone wants to fill it out now, or if anyone knows anyone, I can send some home with y'all to your counties if you need to have them paper. And I think Joe's actually volunteered to notarize them for us here, so very, very generous of him. So for our potential candidates, you know, I'm going to come up in a minute to speak about candidate recruiting specifically. Moving on to the next bullet points. For making these run, obviously, we have had some questions from people calling in, and some people say, "Oh, I want to run for something like Senate or whatever." They say, "Well, the filing fee is $5,000," and then they kind of hang up the phone. So as a party, we don't pay the filing fee. So we do try to. Other support that we want to give is candidate training. So there is a candidate handbook. I know Amanda's already told me on the forum that we need to change the
Branding.
the branding of it. I found that in Ignite, so that's going to get changed before it gets sent out. So that's why I just wanted to be able to review it first before I email it to our list. And then for websites, this is something that I've been told by political scientists or political professors that this is the most cost beneficial thing that our candidates can do, is to have a website. Like the dollar for votes it gets is the best. Things that are not so good are mailers or paid ads on social media, stuff like that. Those don't have as high of a return, but something like websites or block walking, things like that, those are really high returns for voting. Our candidate tracking list, I do want to, and if everyone could tell people in their counties as well, submit your name onto our website to the candidate interest form, because that's the way I get these names and this information from people, as well as their
their contact information and their voter ID to make sure that they actually are eligible to be on the ballot in their respective place they want to do. We do have a lot of local filers. Local races are nonpartisan, just as a reminder, so you wouldn't actually be running as a libertarian, but I do believe that they are extremely important because that helps build out a bench. If we get people that win without a libertarian label, then they can potentially run in the future for a higher office with a libertarian label and have a lot more.
Just to be clear, Frank, it's not all local offices.
Not all local.
Municipal.
Right.
County races are part of it.
Right, so that's true. So when I say local, I don't mean county races. So there's local, county, district, and the statewide is sort of the, but you're right, just for clarification, only municipal, school board, dog catcher, if that exists, stuff like that.
Is that what's accurate?
This one's, as of when the one was published, so I have to do about once a week. There's a few more people that have,
Most of these are not from Vancouver.
yeah.
Who is Rick Aragon?
Yeah.
No, wait, so I'm saying the same thing about those for Vince.
Those are people,
who's Daryl Britt?
so those are people that have filled out our candidate interest form, so they are interested in running for office. If you have questions about their ability to do so, if they're running for a position like for your county, then obviously they have to get a nomination from your county, and you can ask them. I'm not really asking them questions about who they are at this point. I'm just happy to have people fill out the candidate interest right now.
I'll say mine begins. Frank, and the local side of it, the nonpartisan, those also include water districts, special
Irrigation district, stuff like that. So going down, so the statewide filing deadline, as of today, it has opened up. So go ahead and start filing or telling people that in your districts to file. For some of them, I did point out our best bet for ballot access, as usual, is the judicial races. You do have to be a licensed attorney in good standing for at least the past 5 years for those. It may be wise to wait until December 11th because there are a few different places you could run for. There's 3 different Supreme Court slots and 3 different Court of Criminal Appeals slots you can run for. So if one of them has just the incumbent running and there's no challenger, no Democrat running in those races, then that might be the best solution for us because for those races, the big deal is to try to retain ballot access. I think we have the railroad. I'm going to let Ted come up and talk about that more in the meeting. The only thing I did put a note here is in the Supreme Court of Texas, Blacklock and Divine are 2 that have been somewhat pro-liberty. They're still Republicans, so obviously, it would be better to have a libertarian in their office, but just for that note. And then going down, the new law that recently got passed in this past legislation does allow the Secretary of State now to remove any candidate who hasn't paid their filing fee or provided the petition in lieu of it.
I have a question about the Supreme Court.
Right.
How does the amendment that fell
how
does that impact?
So that just, you have to be under 75 years old. So currently the age limit is 75 years old. So I think the requirements for the judicial officers, so Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals, you do have to be a licensed attorney, good standing, 5 years. You do have to be under 75 years of age.
So I'm wondering, is that going to really impact as far as the amount of availability for seats now?
No.
Are any of them going to be turned out?
No. Well, not turned out or aged out. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought I understood that Nathan Peck was going to be aged out. He was going to have to get a seat soon.
He'll still be able to finish his 4-year term. Yeah. So technically, he can be 79 and still sit in the seat.
Doesn't he have to resign when he turns 75?
That's what I said.
No, he can't run it.
Can't
Can't
It's
run
an
it.
eligibility.
It's an eligibility for candidacy, not eligibility to serve.
Right.
So going down the timeline, filing open today, closes on December 11th. Again, potentially, if you want to wait to see who else is filing, hopefully towards the beginning of December, I'll try to get a list of the statewide races of who's filing, if there's any openings. Kevin, do you have anything?
Yeah, let's make an effort to pay our filing fees in dollar bills. Just saying.
Or pennies, right? Yeah.
They will not take coins.
So for
Or not pay them
positions
at all.
the requirements are usually except for the statewide offices, they're 500 signatures or potentially 2% of whatever the previous votes were for the last election, whichever is fewer. So if you're running in a race with less than 25,000 votes prior, then it would be less than 500, but otherwise it would be 500.
So technically, getting the signature started today? So,
Yes.
and you only have less than a month?
Yes.
Correct.
That's not. Correct.
Exactly.
Cost effective.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's cheaper to pay.
Yes.
It's cheaper to pay, yeah.
So, and then, okay, so we've gone through the timeline. If any of our candidates do drop out, there is extended filing until December 18th. Our chair has to submit the names by December 21st, or if you're a county chair and you're dealing with county races, so that's with wholly races within the county that are nominated at the county convention, then that would be your deadline to submit it to the county judge's office. Then we're already well aware of all the convention dates. The safe harbor date, August 23rd, is when they can no longer take our names off the ballot once we're there. And then just for campaign candidates, just so y'all know, October 21st, the first is early voting, and the 5th, obviously, election day. You also have reporting requirements, and this is something that I want to make sure. That's why it's important to put out the candidate interest form, because I'm going to be emailing that list of people who filled out that form with reminders for election campaign financing. They're semi-annual, right? So you do have to do that. And if you are planning on running, be sure to have a treasurer appointment on file prior to getting any contributions. If you don't, that's not only a civil penalty, but potentially a criminal violation as well. Let's see, and then our candidate handbook. So I do need to update the look and feel of it to make it more in line with how our branding decisions have evolved over the years, but that will also be sent out. And then I'm not going to go through the appendix because it's kind of long, and I hope I didn't insult anyone's intelligence, but I do really want to push candidates to get a website, just because there's going to be a lot of people voting on November 5th. Obviously, it's a presidential year. There's going to be a lot of people who have no idea what a libertarian is or what the difference is between them and a librarian. So it's important to have a website. So, Ted, do you pull up and speak about the candidate brief?
Yes.
I have a few comments, but I'll go.
Okay. So anyway, for the actual candidate recruiting, I don't like having that list of people who have sent in their applications up early, because some of them may run, some of them may not. Other people have gotten in touch with me, like past candidates who have not filled out applications, but they still want to run again, like Kevin Hale, for example, already started his campaign. I don't expect him to have to fill out an application, but obviously he has to file out the nomination paper. We have some, one of the new guys, a guy named Ryan Woodcrest from El Paso, and Dave Marino can tell you more about him. He's like running for county commissioner. He's jumped right in, and he's running an active campaign, and has a lengthy article about him already in the local newspaper. So you can do some questions earlier where there's a problem, like people who might want to run for like a county office or something. I can't tell for sure if we have a county organization that could hold a county convention that would nominate them. A guy down in Jefferson County says he doesn't believe there's a county organization. I can't really show him who the chair is because there's no list of chairs. I'd love to have a list of all the county chairs if they're available.
We have that list. If you'll reach out to the Phillips Morgan Department, we have the Bible and who our chairs are.
Okay, I definitely want the Bible there. There's a couple of other counties as well where I was trying to direct someone away from the state house race. There's just one county, the state senate race. It's 15 counties. Like to be sure. Now for the statewide offices, where's Sarah Stogner? Sarah Stogner has announced her candidacy for railroad commissioner. She's going to join us for lunch, so she can talk to a lot of people about that campaign. She didn't have a home in the Republican Party, so she certainly should have a home here in the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
We also have, like Frank mentioned, Dave Roberson, who's a tax attorney from Austin, who's also our county secretary, who's running for Supreme Court. He's soliciting contributions for his filing fee. We do need more court candidates. Mark Ash is not going to do it this time. We haven't spoken with Tom Oxford yet. Hopefully he'll do it. He usually does. If that proposition had passed, I would have approached William Strange again, but he's now too old to run, unfortunately. He's run before a number of times. So anybody who's an attorney, or knows any liberty-loving attorneys or maybe retired attorneys who are under 75, please let me know, because I know someone who's like a major attorney who's like practicing might feel that he can't really run as a libertarian candidate for the Supreme Court. Like this is quite to say, are you nuts? Lose all his legal business, but we really do need candidates for those positions. Unfortunately, last time when we ran for that, we missed the one that was where we would have been the only opponent because there was no Democrat that ran for one of the ones that was a three-way race. There's just really no way to really know that until like the last minute. Like somebody could file like right at the last 15 minutes of the filing deadline. Yes, Liz.
Only because you're talking about this subject, I know some Democrats who care very much about us having an unopposed statewide race and maintaining ballot access.
Oh.
So I know some that are willing to help make sure we have, no guarantees, but help us maintain that spot. So let's talk about that.
Yes, please let them tip us off as to which ones, because we could easily switch.
That's a conversation I would like, but I need to
Not
be
on the
fully
last
up to
one.
date for doing it.
Okay, so that, and then the U.S. Senate race, I put out that I was, this is running against Ted Cruz. It's not a ballot access race, but it's a really high-profile race. I'm willing to do it, like I put out there. If I get help with the filing fee, help with the campaign, I just can't run a statewide campaign. I don't have the energy or ability to do that. But if I got help on that, I can do it. Phil Gray's expressed interest, but anybody else who's either A, has money burning a hole in their pocket to get filing fees or to run, or to help out on the campaigns, keep me posted about that, because that really is a really high-profile race that we should be in, even though it's might be a very thankless task. And again, in your own counties, if you have anyone who's interested in running, have them get in touch with me. The application's the best, or just an email, some way, so I can talk to them about what's required, because it is coming up, and usually falls together pretty well in the last month here. So I don't know if there's any questions or if you need an extension.
We are out of time, so if there are.
I have a motion. I move to recess until 1:30.
Second.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this, we are out of time for the item.
I move for 1 minute.
Motion on the floor. Until 1:30. And then, yes, basically wait. No,
I move for 1:30. I know that's not what we're really proposed, but as far ahead as we are and as late as we usually are, I'm just moving to 1:30. That's my mind.
Okay, and by late you mean
Coming back.
Yeah.
Are you playing?
30.
I object.
Okay, and we do have objection.
I think this is an appropriate time to break for lunch. I don't see that we have time for another speaker to get through. And I think that a 2-hour break is appropriate considering the restaurant options we have and the travel time and the fact that we are going back to the restaurant, they're going to take a little longer. So.
There was objection, Mr. Brown.
Oh, just saying, it seems like too long, and if there is anyone who wants to move a few minutes extension to ask questions on this, because candidate recruitment and political action is really the most important thing we're doing for the next month, probably. So
I
urge
object.
you to allow for some questions and answers on this subject.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
well, not crazy.
Who's the middle?
So, anyone else wishing to speak
I have a motion.
for or against?
I'll speak again.
Already.
Yeah, on John's motion, I mean, we shut down the discussion of people who may have walked by a 30-06 sign. And we made that choice, so we said we had a packed agenda, and I think we shouldn't, shoot down an agenda extension and then extend lunch, since we all got it. It just doesn't sound right.
So, if it's appropriate, I would like to make a motion to amend the motion to allow 9 extra minutes for people to finish their questions, and then we can do it as a proposed motion.
I would say that. I think he's trying to make some kind of amendment that postpones my motion until 9 minutes after.
It's letting Ted finish.
Shortening it by 9 minutes on the front.
Yes, till 11:30.
I'm not gonna comment on the rightness of that.
In other words, starting the recess at 11:30. Just what we say.
Second.
There is a second. Is there an objection to that? Which would make the recess from 11:30 to 1:30 and still have 2 minutes left before we.
Objection. I agree with Mike.
I agree with Mike.
Is that an objection to the amendment to
To the amendment.
Well,
The amendment of continuing for 10 more,
What the?
until 11:30. We can still talk about it for 10 more minutes. For 8 more minutes if somebody moves to do that after we discuss the discussion.
I withdraw.
Okay. No further objections on Mr. Westbrook's amendment, which is letting us start that recess at 11. Thank you. We'll do that. We are still out of time on this item. So,
I have a motion. I move to lay this motion on the table so we can continue this item.
That works. That works.
okay. Any objection to that?
Yay.
No objection. Thank you.
You're done.
Now,
Motion to extend for 9 more minutes to discuss political action in Kansas recruiting. 9.
until.
Previous amendment.
It has been seconded. Is there objection? Let's do it. Got a question? Go.
I have a question, yes, no, or I don't know, is, do you believe that the drop in candidates we're seeing is Texas specific or nation specific?
I don't know about the nation. I know that
Okay,
it's a
I'm just
matter
curious.
of recruiting candidates. For example, there were very few elections, like partisan elections this year. For example, I know West Benedict recruited candidates in Mississippi, and they ran for the state legislature for like the first time in years. Apparently, I don't know how they did, but that was like what was going on in the last, recently. Now, as for 2024, we in California are the earliest states where people have to file for the 2024 election, the earliest primaries and everything. So a lot of states don't even have to decide until March, April, later. So we don't even know that in other states.
And just for historical context, this is an off election year for Texas. We don't have a full slate of statewide candidates.
yeah.
That might play into it. The only reason we have so many candidates that are open is because we had redistricting in 2022. So a lot of the state board of educations are open. A lot of the court of appeals are open just because of their terms were shortened because of the redistricting. So it's just there hasn't been that many. There's not that many offices available. I think
Well,
that's
there's
part
a
of it.
macro thing going on, right, both directly with the Libertarian Party, and there's a macro thing going on with ultra-partisan, nobody votes for anybody anymore.
We can't speak for the national party.
No.
Just for the state party, it's an off election.
But in the
Okay.
state, there's a lot of ultra-partisanship going on. For example, Republican donors of the right wing are going after all the Republican legislators that voted to impeach Ken Paxton, for example. Even though he well deserved to be impeached and removed from office. That's a no-no, within the Republican Party. So there's going to be a lot of Republican primaries, including against Speaker Bona. Or Speaker, Phelan. Bona already got thrown out. Phelan this time. Yes.
I'd just like to say that for those unaffiliated counties
Yeah.
that have people that want to run for office, Bill Collins actually affiliated El Paso so that he could run for state office back in 2012 or something, way before my time.
Yes, but it might be too late though.
So that's the affiliate coordinator.
This is an issue that came up, I was trying to promote last time, saying we need longer time deadlines to affiliate counties, and I think we're too late now, aren't we? Because of
No, it's changed to the filing deadline. So if they need to, they can affiliate their county right now and then run right now.
Okay.
I don't see any reason they couldn't run and then affiliate, honestly, in the law.
But because of
As long as they're hold their conventions.
it has to be a county chair to submit the paperwork. To the
Well,
county
no,
chair.
you can write that.
At the state level, yes, but at the county level, if you're running for a county position, you have to have a county chair to sign it by December 11th.
That's what I mean, yeah. So now the same person could be the county chair, and probably often is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have an affiliated county run for a county position.
Right, but we have to sign
You have to have a county convention.
and we have to make sure that there's a person in that position then. So we can talk about that further, because I have 2 or 3 counties, as soon as I know about the county chairmanship. And now the thing is though, some of these counties are listed as affiliated, so the question would be is if the county chair is not active, whether he's willing to give it over to this other person, or to have a process.
That's county bylaws.
That's county bylaws, right, so that's another issue.
Yes, Mr. Burns and then Mr. Miller.
might this lower number of candidates, might these extorted filing fees that are basically making our candidates fund the other party's primaries, might that have had a chilling effect on the number of candidates?
Especially congressional. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Especially congressional. Usually, last time, a lot of people were willing to put forth $750 to run for state house or $300 to run for board of education. But beyond that, that's getting a little bit pricey there.
Right, the extortion gets higher the higher the office is.
Exactly, and we raised the money for the statewide candidates last time. For like, governor and the other statewide officials.
By we, you do not mean the Libertarian Party.
No, they had to raise the money though. It wasn't like people were just coming forth and just putting forth all that money as a platform.
The party did not.
No.
The candidates
Liberty
themselves.
Booster PAC and others were doing that.
But effectively, you're saying if they're out there raising money for these filing fees, they could be using that money to campaign, and so they're having a much more difficult time doing that because of these filing fees.
I think there are multiple children.
Yes, definitely
Sure.
speaking to the choir on that one, Joe.
Sure.
So for a district race that includes more than one county, as long as you have at least one county affiliated, you can hold that district convention or not.
Exactly.
I just wanted to clarify that for myself and other people.
Right, because the affiliated county can nominate someone from another county in the same district, but it has to be an affiliated county that holds the district convention.
Mr. Wolford, it's not secret, I was thinking to recognize that.
It was just a statement.
Great.
As when I was a candidate, I spent $1,200. I raised $600 and spent $600 on my own. There's no way that $1,000 additional would have been beneficial to me, other than getting authorized to run as the state. And if I run again, I may not pay again.
Yeah, so a few different things I just want to comment on. First being, we're in kind of a weird situation, and I do have concerns, not for the staff, but for the party at large, that we will get comfortable in a situation we should not be comfortable in. And that is that our ballot access is very little guaranteed for a decade, and probably if we're going to be realistic about statistics and how we've done, longer. The change that allowed us to be secure for a decade happened very suddenly and very late, and it spurred us to then make, I don't want to say go into legal fight, but to change our legal fight suddenly and abruptly. It is not clear to me, and maybe there are some people in the room who are qualified to say it's clear to them, that that same change could be reversed just as suddenly and abruptly, taking us off the ballot. Now that may be a fight we could win in court, but it's not necessarily a fight we can afford in court, or one we could get relief from a judge in time for the election in court. So I really think we need to run, like we are running under the old set of rules, and our ballot access is in jeopardy under those rules. So I just want to make that point that y'all need to be encouraging that.
Yes. I had someone say something yesterday, but you don't really need someone to help you with your ballot access this year. Yeah, we do. Because every time we don't get 2%,
that's an opportunity.
That's 2 years we lose.
Exactly. So just we have to keep on. We have to keep on. So
it's good through 2032 right now, but we need to.
But Dave and Sarah and whoever else runs for the torch is definitely going to be
100%.
that for it. And the part about having, if we have a two-way race, we're in like Flynn, no matter what there's no way they could really do much to us at that point. But
the other thing I want to point out, and maybe I am not, I've looked at this very briefly, maybe I'm not seeing everything on here, but I'm looking at the application for nomination as part of the discussion earlier on county affiliation, and the signature at the bottom that I'm seeing that is probably most applicable is signature of chair or designee receiving filed application. Now here, 6 years ago or whatever it was, when they were first making the law that brought us into the same system that the primary parties were using for our nomination of candidates, one of the questions that came up is who should be doing this? Secretary of State actually called me, and we had multiple calls drafting the law. And their original proposal was that county chairs had to do county candidates and state chairs need to do statewide candidates. And I pushed them and won that the state chair is also allowed to sign these applications for county candidates, because I knew that we had county affiliates who were not ready to be organized, and we'd lose out on the candidates we didn't. So, looking at this form, I don't see anywhere that it requires a county chair to sign. We would be required to have a county chair for a convention. There's no question about that. But I really don't see any reason, if somebody doesn't have the time to turn over a county immediately, that they couldn't file to run for office, and we couldn't get that done in time.
From a technical point of view, though, then either Whitney or me as the designee would have to like take it to the county judge or election official in some obscure county to do that. Because the candidate who's not.
Yeah, it's filed with the county clerk.
County clerk, sometimes it's the county judge.
Same with the financials.
Yeah, so that's the problem right there. That there's like a physical need for that. That's the reason they want to like be on site, and plus, that's the problem.
Time has expired on this item. We are not.
Let's talk about it over lunch, man.
I move to take from the table the motion that we previously had on the floor.
Which is to recess for lunch until 1:30.
Yes.
Second.
Any objection to recess until lunch until 1:30?
It's just take from the table.
Oh, sorry. Yes, to take that back up so that we can consider recessing for lunch. Any objection? Okay.
My objection fails.
We have a motion, we are right back where we were in the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, which is on the floor to recess the lunch until 1:30.
Second.
Any objection?
Same.
Okay, do you need to speak to it?
No, I think I can.
Okay, so we will proceed to a vote. Mr. Volpe?
I would like to speak in favor. We've already knocked some of our afternoon agenda items off the agenda, so I don't think it's really dig into that much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be recognized at this item? Okay, so we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of recessing lunch until 1:30? All opposed? Okay, roll call. See you at 1:30. It is my understanding that the door will be locked until 1:30, so that is it.
But some of these current projects and on the horizon, some of these things I want to bring up real quick. I do have plenty of media outlet follow-ups I've got to do. We've submitted a few press releases and whatnot this past quarter, and needs lots of follow-up. We even had our last press release actually published on a few websites recently as well. One of them just so happened to be in Florida, not in Texas, but hey, whatever, it's getting out there, right? So let's go down a little bit further here to Twitter. Newsletter volunteers, third-party software changes on my horizon for the next 30 days. If you guys know anybody who wants to write some newsletters, please. We plan on putting out some more ads and so forth for that in all of our channels, so hopefully some people pick that up. Okay, let's go down to Twitter here a little bit. Our follower loss that we saw last quarter has slowed down dramatically. As you can see from the net new followers, we are still getting plenty of followers every quarter, and that's showing wonderful. We do see a small dip in our total followers. Again, I still think this is probably contributed to old accounts or inactive accounts that Twitter automatically gets rid of, things along those lines. Because we get notifications all the time about new followers coming in and following those posts into our profile and really trying to learn more is what it seems to be, especially lately. So that's really nice. One of the things I wanted to address here on this Twitter portion, though, I believe came up, was Nathan last quarter, asked a question right about the monetization. There we go. We have two options for monetization in Twitter, one of them in which we do not qualify for. We do have a subscriber option where we can kind of put things behind a paywall, about $5 a month, and we would profit roughly, I think it was $3.80 a month per subscription. So we would get most of the profits. I'm honestly not sure what we want to put behind the paywall, because so much of our stuff really needs to be public. I'm definitely open to ideas and would love to hear some stuff. Any way we can make a little bit extra money for the party to pursue any other ideas would be great. The other one being ad revenue sharing. Ad revenue sharing would be absolutely amazing. We meet 2 out of 3 requirements. One of those requirements is 5 million impressions over the course of 3 months, which we, as you can see here, barely 250,000, definitely don't qualify for. I would love to see it though, and we'll try to get there hopefully one day. But standard breakdown here, we can kind of go down this list a little bit. Plenty of new followers, total followers have decreased a little bit. We've got plenty of profile clicks though that are coming through, and still, it's 250,000 impressions. We're getting a lot more engagement and mentions from all sorts of people, not just individuals, but organizations as well. They're actively trying to call us to be part of the conversation, and we've been actively trying to respond. Jeff's done a great job with that, as well as everybody else in the comms team. I absolutely love it. Scroll down a little bit. There's a general breakdown. It looks definitely blurry this time around. So hopefully you can open that up from the forum page and see those numbers a little better. And basically just, again, as always, how our impressions turn into engagements and retweets and likes. Let's go down to Facebook, get a general overview there. Our engagement has dropped a little bit in Facebook, but we are still getting an ample amount of impressions. People are still liking our stuff. We still have a pretty strong following. So don't let that red number fool you in the engagements. We're still doing great. It's still a good number, and we progress. Let's screen down here to YouTube a little bit further. This quarter, as opposed to last, especially that was probably most of our top content for all quarter. The second most, or the second most top content was actually the Freedom Follies short video, which was really nice. It was really nice to see that video get out there and be pushed out. And it was actually a huge part of our impressions this quarter, which, if we scroll down just a little bit further, we'll be able to see them. 52,000 impressions that Google was throwing out. This is a significant increase. Huge increase. Now, of course, that breaks down further, and we're still getting roughly the average same time of watch time in terms of hours, but the retention span for our Freedom Folly event videos were significantly higher compared to everything else. So they did very excellent and very well. And as we saw above for the views, our live streams that some of our inter-party stuff did, right, for candidate training and whatnot, ended up getting a lot of views. So that was really nice to see as well. More people interested in how they can help and what they need to do. Let's scroll it down further to the next part for Reddit. Reddit, we haven't posted a lot. It's been more comments, more engaging in the different communities. Reddit is a little different of a platform than the others. And the others, we tend to make a post and then people respond to us, right? There's a lot of wonderful places on Reddit for us where, like, there are Ask Libertarian subreddit, which I have really kind of concentrated a lot of efforts into, because there's been a huge uptick there for new libertarians and people who are kind of, normie libertarians, small L's that are really trying to learn more about libertarianism, what it stands for, et cetera, and so forth. And I thought it would be great to have the party's response, not just libertarians in their personal positions. So with that graph, that explains how come we've seen kind of a stagnation in the submitted karma versus our comment karma is significantly going up. I decided to add underneath those graphs a little bit of a plus sign to show the differences from last quarter, so we can see like how much more karma we're getting in each month. Let's see here. Oh yeah, the top 5 posts for this platform are kind of listed there. We've been focusing a little bit more on libertarian subreddits as well as Texas. We're getting plenty of views, lots of views. Our people are really liking our content and whatnot, and that's wonderful. The karma growth, though, kind of says to me that they're not really interacting as much as I hope for them on some of those posts. Part of me thinks that was the timing of those posts in particular, but I'll just have to do better on those. Let's scroll down to TikTok. I really like this one. as well as our other short video platform, Instagram. But TikTok is doing amazing. We didn't post that many more posts than last quarter. I think last quarter was 3 or 2 posts. I forget off the top of my head. And we did 12 this quarter. But as you can see, the numbers there are great. We did a lot of views. Our followers continue to grow, whether it's a small amount or not. And our comments and impressions and so forth are doing really great there. We seem to have really found that niche. And you'll see if you scroll down a little bit further on Instagram as well. Instagram looks scary. Again, it's got a lot more red numbers. These red numbers are comparing this quarter to last. So as we have seen a little bit of a dip in a lot of Instagram's analytics, I still think these look great. 25,000 impressions is wonderful. 2,000 engagements out of those is still a great percentage. We're doing really good on this, and I quite like that. I do have a little bit of problem in my report though this year for the website. Let's scroll down a little bit further. I know I'm running through this. I'm sorry, guys. The website recently switched to Nation Builder and whatnot, right? That's wonderful. It's great. I'm quite enjoying it. But it seems that our Google Analytics was disconnected or whatever happened. It was very recently connected yesterday or reconnected yesterday. So I have absolutely no data on that for anything that's come over to our own website, directions for donations or PRs, and et cetera. Okay, so let's go down to Discord, cover that real quick.
And reconnecting it was successful, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up on that. After the reconnection, I just slammed really hard in this report, so. And I figured I'll probably follow up on that anyhow since I mentioned it. Our Discord looks just fine as usual. Our members, it's kind of stagnated here, but we still have 600 something. We're doing great. Nothing to draw attention to there. And again, putting continued stats below that generally show that we are still very active in the Discord between members and for everything we're doing inside. So it definitely seems like its intended purpose is still greatly working. And I like to see that. As for Department Ones, this is something that I definitely want to stress in these further two things down here. Department Ones, editorial writers and newsletter writers. Obviously, I'd love a newsletter volunteer. We are still getting newsletters out, but an additional person to take over that would be great. Now, editorial writers, I know a lot of people in here, as well as others in the party, definitely write a lot of things and push it out to their local newspapers or their favorite news website or whatever like that. We love those submissions to come to us as well. So that way we can help push those out in other areas too. And I think that would be really great to get those writings out there. We don't have a lot of representation in a lot of posts to really drive things that way. And I think we need more of it. We got plenty of people that are writing all these things, but if you could push them to comms so we could help you get them out into more outlets, maybe more newspapers, more websites, that's really what I'd like to do. Because while I have a wonderful writer, David, he is also very busy. And we have so many other wonderful writers that I'd love to get out there on other platforms. Of course, as always, more relationships with media outlets. I have a very difficult time as a libertarian getting these people on board, wanting to talk to us. The only times they ever seem remotely interested is when we are somehow a topic of discussion, and usually it's not necessarily a good thing. But sometimes they are. We have had a few outlets reach out, and we've made a very small handful, or I've made a very small handful of relationships with some of the people in the media. It's not proved fruitful in my opinion, but it's growth and they're there. So as always, trying to reach out more to them, trying to get our chair and so forth into more conversations online, whether it be podcasts or Twitter Spaces, etc.
The contact with media outlets, whose purview is that?
Contact media outlets, generally mine. Oh, I'm ready for your comments.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Wilker? Okay, so first a question and then a comment. Or suggestion and a comment, probably more appropriately. You had asked earlier, you said there was a paywall on Twitter, right?
Right,
Or we
Twitter.
can put some content behind that was mainly for public consumption. My initial suggestion on that would be to put out reports akin to the newsletter, our finances, our internal ongoings, whether we're going to a lawsuit, stuff the public doesn't care about, and donors who have their money invested in the party would really be interested to know. That would be my suggestion, and then, everything other policies and everything would be generally public.
That's going down my nose. I like that.
Secondly, a comment that is rather personally directed at you, actually. Don't make that face yet. Although the beginning of it may resurface it. Initially, when you came on, kind of hearing your story and background, that you were somebody who was involved in a campaign, kind of complained about our communication and everything, and then got moved to director position. I was skeptical, I'll say, to say the least, about your position. And I think you had a few bumps and rough starts at the beginning. I think you just delivered a very good report. I think you have done a great job in growing and doing better. And I think you were very big, and I was wrong. So thank you so much for your work.
So Kyle, you and I talked privately about that, relationships with media, and specifically about getting our candidates on things like talk radio and stuff like that. As we're heading into that candidate season again, have we had any further developments on that, or a plan to try to work with radio stations or anything like that to try to? Because there are some talk radio people that will put on, like, especially the nonpartisan candidates for things like city council and stuff like that, because they don't have a party affiliation, so we don't have that, we won't talk to libertarians lot. So I just wondered if there was like specific, a timetable or something you were working on in that area.
Timetable, no. Working on it, yes. Fruitful, no. I've not made much success there.
Time was expired on us. I have one person not to potentially in the queue.
We have to extend time for 5 minutes.
Second. For those two people. Yes. All right. Oh, sorry. Any objection? Okay, go ahead.
A question regarding the strategy for Twitter, for example, because you mentioned monetization. Is there any strategy for Twitter to boost it up? I know there are several larger Twitter accounts out there right now that a lot of their effort is to help boost others and teach others how to get the monetization up. At most, maybe an hour a day, and that's all it takes for it. So if there isn't, I can give you some of their information. Start following them. They do Twitter Spaces all the time to talk about it. I think that would be a good strategy.
First of all, I would love to hear those. I'd love to get those. Information do have a small bit of a strategy there. What seems to have gotten the most impressions for us is engaging other people. Not necessarily post on ourselves or post about topics, etc. We did that significantly very well this time last year. Our impressions were significantly higher, and I believe that was probably the biggest part of it. However, when there are experts involved, I'd love to hear from them. So please get those to me if you can.
So my question, whatever, on your strategy with reaching out to media is, are you using the resources like Andrew and Whitney to do that, to make it more successful because they do have more experience? Are you using those resources or team
as
resources?
they come in or as they're relevant? In general, yes. They do help quite a bit with that. Giving me contacts, etc. And the rest is up to me following up with that. I've had quite a few conversations with a lot of them. And then the rest of it is trying to find them. Most of my success has been particularly on Twitter. And oftentimes those reporters definitely have their DMs open. And the moment we come in there as a state party account, they tend to respond fairly quickly. After that is where it gets sketchy. So creating a relationship seems to be the easy part, but keeping them on that string is the most difficult. That is something that needs to be ramped up. We definitely have plenty of contacts between the chair and the executive director and something like that, but we need.
Mr. Miller and Mr. Bradley?
I just wanted to add about something that I said last quarter about the county affiliates, Twitter and Facebook and all that, that the more that y'all share on there about what's going on in the counties, the more we can get that out on the state account as well. And it seems like from last quarter that actually went down rather than up. So I'm just encouraging you again to post more. And if there's something that you don't have time to go into detail with, if there's an event or something happening, you want me to just post it directly on the state account, by all means let me know, or just tell me what you want to get out and we can do that. But communicate with me if there's something else you want us to be messaging on. And again, a reminder that it's y'all's party, not just a few of us and
Absolutely. I'd like to add on top of that, even. We have plenty of communication platforms for you to do these things in. Discord alone, as the comms department, we all have access to a ton of channels on that platform in particular. So simply mentioning app communications department, you can reach all of us anytime, whether you're in the county execs channel or not. Anywhere through there is fine. DMs, I have a cell phone number and email address as well. You guys, if anybody wants that, I'd be happy to dish it out. So the other thing with that too is that while Twitter definitely will tell us about these things, because we do follow all these county accounts, there's some algorithm there that doesn't always get it across to us. I've seen other counties make posts and whatnot that we don't catch or that we don't see. Twitter doesn't realize. So when you do, it's best to just copy us on everything. And that would be a much better process, and we could dish it out as we see that.
Mr. Bradley?
Yeah, I had a question with the budget. So, in the next year, we are projecting, based off of our treasury report, going down about $70,000 in income. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, your budget's going up about 50%.
Yes, those are actually very recent things that happened to us as well. There are quite a bit of prices that have gone up. I mean, food suite almost doubled, right? We are looking into, I'm looking into, as well as the rest of the department, alternatives to almost every single platform. We are switching to looking at things like Streamlabs as a possibility. So while that may be included in the budget, it's very unlikely to be added long term. Everything I have in the budget is more of, this is at most what I'm looking at right now. If nothing changes, this will move. Now, that is definitely not the plan. Food Suite, I'm planning to throw out the door immediately. That is number one on my list. We already have a bunch of other third parties we've got lined up that we're looking at right now. That I'm about to share with the rest of our comms department to discuss it. But most of them, if not all of them, are significantly cheaper and offer a way better platform. Now, not just that, but the other things that I added, significantly smaller, around $100, a couple $100, would be the Streamlabs, the streaming, I believe, which is a couple $100 a year, and then the, off the top of my head, for some reason I don't remember. Streamlabs and those stock photos, what? 10 seconds, okay, stock photos and whatnot. So those were requested by the rest of my team, and if you guys approve it, that's wonderful. If not, we'll manage.
Right.
As you're leaving, there's been a lot of talk about people who may want to announce something. They need to get in touch with the comms. Where's the best place to do it?
Absolute best place, in my opinion, is Discord. Second best place would be email.
Want to see your letters?
Communications@openTexas.org.
Yeah. All right.
All right, excellent.
All right, you're good, Scar.
Hello. Welcome back from lunch. First, I want to thank our team coffee sponsors. We have Collin County. Andrew has supplemented a little bit for us today too, and then a really big thank you to Mary Palmer. that's for our meetings that we've had this year. For the Q4 meeting today, this is the expected, which is $692.80. That's with all of the fees and everything included, but we haven't paid that yet. So it's a number, but it's not included in any budget yet. Our final cost for the Q3 last time was $458.98, so that was a great price in El Paso. For our next meeting, there's no plan for a fundraiser, as state convention is right around the corner. So we're not going to do a fundraiser right then. We'll be in state convention mode. Tonight's event, Freedom Follies, we're not quite in details yet because we don't have them. The event's not over. It's payments, all kinds of stuff didn't come out until after this budget report anyways. But Delta is here. Delta Chanel. Very excited about that. Let's see what I forgot here. Budget expenditures. Okay, so the reason these two numbers under fundraisers and select meetings are highlighted is because they are different than what is in the budget. I think something just got classified under the wrong because my numbers are actually higher than Kate's are. But we've talked about that and we're going to figure out where that went, but everything is accounted for and we're not over budget on anything, so that's not a problem there. So fundraisers right now we're at $15,705.64. Select meetings we're at $3,057.63, which looks like over budget, but again, with that new line item of that 6,000 sponsorship, that includes that too, because we had about $510 in coffee donations, and that's going to be with this one too. So that expected is $692.80 for this meeting, but this coffee is going to be included in that cost, and then it's going to be offset by the donations that is in that $6,000 line item. Short-term objectives: select a city and venue for Q1 meeting next year. I've had some requests for Nacogdoches. I'm looking. We have not picked the location yet, but I will be getting on that in the next week or so and getting out RFPs. Like for this one, I think I sent out like 45 RFPs to the DFW area. So we will be getting on that soon, and you will have plenty of time to pick to know when that meeting is coming. My long term right now is I'm working state convention planning with Whitney and Kate and Andrew and stuff. So I'm still kind of involved in that process and taking notes. And then I'm still interviewing for positions in the department. I have been looking over things of something, a different position I might need. We've talked a little bit about this. It's possibly something like an on-site manager. I don't know if y'all noticed, I've been running around all day. So it makes it very hard for me to be involved in the meeting at the same time. So having somebody who is here during those events, if you know anybody who fits the bill of that, who basically everything would be planned out, they'd be part of it, and then the communication on the day of would go through them more so that I could be a little bit more present at this meeting. And then let's see what else we have here. Facebook ads. For this event coming up, we actually tried to start doing Facebook ads. So that was like a first time thing. We had a little bit of a hiccup, but I would like to push for that as we're doing the events to run a small budget, maybe like $100 or something for ads to push the publicity of the events that are coming up. We have sold out of the VIP tickets for tonight's event, so that's fantastic. I know a lot of y'all are in here, so we'll see y'all tonight. Oh, and then the mention earlier about the carry at the location, while it definitely can be, in my opinion, a thought of it, like we should be trying to look for that, it will be very detrimental to our ability to negotiate and find venues if that is a requirement. So it's one thing if we try for it, we're looking for it, we want it, and as libertarians, we all know that, if you conceal carry, they don't know. So we need to carry, but if you conceal, we'll just look the other way. But if we make that a requirement, that is going to severely limit the venues that we can do, and being able to do the events with the hotel, that it all kind of ties in together. Because one of the reasons we got such a great rate on this space is because we're also doing an event here. We're doing 2 other events here. Technically 3 because we did the happy hour. So technically 3 other events to kind of knock down on the price for this. I think that is all for my report, so I'm open up questions.
Mr. Wilford, here's Mr. Polsky.
One
Jacob Bradley and Austin. Yes.
With the highlighted numbers, I think it was the select meeting number you mentioned that with that number, it may look over budget, but there have been some donations for coffee and everything. I'm a little concerned with that language because historically, at least, when we talk about budget, we talk about numbers in a gross manner. That is to be like before profit, like this is how much we spend. So how are those coffee donations, everything figured out? Are those like considered direct donations?
Yes, so that's how it's working out. They're considered direct donations so that they offset that cost. Because the problem is it doesn't get separated out as the invoice. So that kind of goes all as one, so it all gets covered under that one thing. But then we are having the donations, and that's the reason we have that other line item so that it's getting put back into the budget under that way so that it is being directed for what the people are donating it for.
So something I would request, and I think this request is probably more directed at upper management than you directly, but just under sticking with policy. I have no problem with considering that under direct donations. I think it's actually very appropriate. But in sticking with policy, we should probably set up a direct donation fund along with a report on what gets put in there and what's going to happen if there's leftover money in order for us to facilitate that rather than just putting the money there, because I think our policy requires that.
I would not be opposed to having conversations about that with people to find out, make sure that we're reporting it and making it also the least confusing way as possible for that too.
Can we lay that on the table?
Can we hear it? Kate,
I disagree. It's us that would have to be doing the work on that, and doing events before. This seems pretty simple. It needs to stay with the department budget. It's a bookkeeping issue, not a direct donation fund issue. And it's basically having this oral contract with the people who are donating the funds. They know they're asking to directly donate for this thing, this particular thing inside a department to offset the cost to the events department. It does not require a special fund, and that I disagree with the way the policy reads. I think it's more of something that, we operate as like a party as a whole, like legal fund, legislative action fund, that kind of thing. This is something more of just a tool, and it's going to be on the bookkeeper side, on the finance side, to make sure that we're tracking those things, and we are, and we have been. And now that we have decided between the events department and the finance department how things are going to go, you're going to start seeing that. So it's going to be separated out, it's going to be clear cut. I don't think it needs any more red tape.
So I would say that if we're going to, if we disagree with the policy manual and we think that things need to be kind of for a different way that more accurately reflects what we can do and what would be appropriate to give the oversight, which is this committee, accurate information, I would then ask that the finance department give an update to the policy manual that would more accurately reflect how we do want to track that and report that.
Yeah. So.
All right. Mr. Pierce.
Yes, thank you. Three quick items. Item one, thank you very much for your report and for splitting it out into easy to understand chunks. I request for future reports, for the sake of clarity, so that we understand how these events have been funded, that you include the expenditures from an event and the revenue generated at that event.
That's what would be, that was what was in my voucher report. You get a special separate report. I had it in
Respectfully, if I could finish the comment before you respond.
Go ahead.
So, to include the expenditures, the revenue, and then the delta, whether negative or positive. I've seen you do this in previous reports. I just appreciate it in your future reports. Second is under discretionary. That is a very reasonable amount for discretionary spend. Could you just tell us what it was spent on? So that we know what where the discretionary stuff ends up going. What is it that we don't have a category for that we use the discretionary part for?
I can tell you right now, offhand, the discretionary for that was a tote container for Amanda to bring stuff to the meetings, Mevo camera, which is what we're using for recording this, and then some acrylic signs. That's the only three things under the discretionary that got spent this year.
Yeah, but all very reasonable things at a very modest amount. Thank you for being frugal with your discretionary money.
Yeah, you think we saved $25 is like price compared with the camera.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was that all your questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Paulson.
Two questions. First, the fundraiser expenditures, does that include tonight?
No. It includes deposits that were made prior to November 1st.
Okay.
So deposits that were made for tonight's events, but there's no, we haven't done any of the revenue. Things still haven't been paid out.
Right.
So that's
just
why,
from an expenditure standpoint.
Yeah, so I would expect for every single one, when we have an event that goes with it, you're not going to get the report on that event until the next meeting, just because we don't have those numbers yet.
Second question, as far as the special events that we do, the fundraisers that we do, what would you say the percentage of the participants are strictly Slec members, or people who come to each of the Slec meetings?
I think we have to go back and actually look at
Numbers, because like you also have you have Slec reps, but then you also have like their spouses and stuff, and then you have people who bring friends and stuff in. I don't know what the percentage is. I know it's pretty high, but one of the goals is actually to get events where we're getting people that are just not reps, right? Like we're trying to grow the party, and part of the thing with events is that we're sending out messages, we're recruiting people, we're trying to get people into the fold of the party, and so we want to outreach just this group of people. I mean, we already put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money. We want more people.
I will also say that even tonight, there are higher numbers of non-Slec members and actually even non-party members that are coming tonight than any event I've seen in the last several weeks.
Was that all your questions?
It's a question for less.
I mean, that's good for us, Joe.
Mr. Nguyen, who would have thought?
It's a minor statement, not even a real.
Sorry.
My question is regarding the prohibition of carrying at this venue. When you're doing and finding these places out, do you ask about those kinds of policies?
I do. Usually, sometimes it gets a little overlooked, but I do try to keep that in mind for it. But a lot of the hotels really have just blatant policies of not doing it, and because we do so much. So if we were trying to find a different type of venue, then that might be.
Well, that's not necessarily the nature of my question. Like, I know, like, when I go to venues, like, for instance, Corpus Christi, and I try to find out that specific information on their website, they never even mention it, so you don't know until you stand in front of the door.
I would get that information from my point of contact.
So it would be nice if you could have that information ahead of
Prior
time
to.
that we
And I
would
can add
know.
that to the list of something to make sure that we're going, because for convention, I know that was a big thing. So it is on my list of things to make sure to remember to ask and then provide that information to y'all.
It is, speaking from experience as a convention planner for many, many years in this party here and at National, that is a prominent criteria for convention planning. I will say that we do kind of overlook it for, it's not always been done. We've actually had to negotiate with hotels to take their signs down. They have done that for us. We had a Slec meeting, and that was a convention in San Antonio once, where they put it up on Sunday. Like, we had agreed that it was fine for the weekend, but on Sunday we showed up and the signs were back up, and part of that was because they were having a church group in another room down the hall, and then for like legal compliance at the time, it was a weird thing. So I agree, sometimes it does get overlooked, and sometimes it's just, we don't get to negotiate.
We've also in the past.
It is always top of mind.
We've also in the past had some very uncomfortable questions and/or denied venues by asking that question.
That is correct. So that's what Jody was saying earlier, that sometimes can limit us in terms of our negotiating power. Depending on when we ask a question, that can be harmful to us. So we do work on that. Time has expired, and I saw 3 people on deck.
I moved
Second.
consent time.
Any objection? How many minutes?
10 minutes.
Any objections? 10 more. Okay, Mr. Pratt.
So I have a couple of questions. First, with the income sponsorships, we have listed on the next budget $6,000 is that estimate for what it is. Do you have any idea year to date what donations are for the sponsorships?
Year to date, so we'll go to November 1st. We'll put it up. There's 4,410, so $4,410, I think, is what we've gotten so far.
Okay.
And I'm calling that off memory. I can look it. I have it in a spreadsheet, but I think that's accurate.
Does that include the magician one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that includes
I thought
that's
that was higher.
$3,900 from that, and then it was, and then we have like $510, I think, donated in coffee.
So sponsorships with the $3,900 that from the matching event, is that including the silent auctions?
No.
Stuff is donated?
No, that's separate. That is purely in. So the event itself made like $800 to $1,000. I can't remember off the top of my head, and it is included in that. So between ticket sales and the donations, we made about $800 to $1,000 off the event itself. And then in addition, we made off of the silent auction and the Aspen Room, which was like $3,400. So $5,500, yeah.
The other question I have is, this is my first term of Slec, but prior I came to a few of the Slec meetings, and a lot of the events were lower key, not super,
yeah.
$75, $85, $90 for events. Have we seen a difference in revenue, or people attending, or people willing to show up based off a price ticket of $75 versus the night's event of $175?
So I will say I've been to some events that were ones that were like $89, and the attendance wasn't as good as the attendance at the May banquet isn't as good as the event attendance that's going to be tonight. So I don't think the ticket cost is necessarily pushing people off. I think that part of the thing is, one, we are in increased rent inflation. So like we can't necessarily, those numbers versus the numbers now, because food costs, that's a big thing. Food and beverage rental is a big thing when we're talking about the cost of these events. So that's increased a lot. But no, I have not seen a push off from the price. I know that 175 is a bit of a sticker shock, but between the answers maybe, that's a little bit of a cost, and we have to be careful to not underprice it, and then also have lower ticket sales where we're opening ourselves up for the liability of a larger loss of money. Yes?
Here. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
We need the same.
Okay. I thought hers was a response.
It was, yeah, it was kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, in short, since I'm the last surviving member of the previous events department, no, it's been the same attendance regardless of what the low key versus what we've had this year. It's been the same attendance. It's been the quality, and in those previous events, we didn't provide food, and that's why the ticket price was so low, is we required people to go out, have dinner, and then come to the event. And only certain VIPs got food. So it was absolutely different than what she's done. She's really classed our events, and I think it's grown organically.
Can I get a clarification real quick? There's no dinner tonight, right?
There is. It's tapas style dinner, so
that was put on the forum.
Yeah, part of the problem was it originally was being advertised as hors d'oeuvres, and it was because it's not a plated dinner. There's still dinner. There's still a full dinner for people, but it's in tapas style. So it's a pick and choose. There's going to be tables set up with food as you get your food and you can take it.
Different format.
Yeah, but it is still a dinner.
I also want to say, just kind of following up to that response that Kate said, we sold out $180 tickets for Joe Jorgensen event, 180 plus tickets for Joe Jorgensen. And we sold out just in a mosh tent for $250 and $750. And then of course tonight. So typically the things that we have a better draw on, a higher profile draw, they're gonna do well anyway. So I would agree that the ticket price is not a hindrance at all to participation.
In fact, the people who are outside the party tend to go to those events. They're attracting those events more than they are for the low key ones and the low ticket price ones. That's when we get the big whales coming in and the people from out of state and all that stuff. They like one of those.
Yeah, those events were before you were on Slec.
Yes.
And to interject, that is also one of the reasons that we've been doing happy hours and stuff like that. So we're still offering like the kind of events that, you know, for, especially for the reps here and everything, who want to come, like last night's happy hour was pretty well attended. Even the one in El Paso, we had, I mean, our numbers were a little low there, but we still had a full bar in El Paso. So I am trying to make sure that for people who are on the cost prohibitive side to also still be offering things for them to engage in the party.
Well done, guys. Well done.
You actually hit most of my question / statement with Austin. But with respect to the carrying of firearms, it is important to let us know.
Yeah, no, and I will add that to my list of
and
things
it's
to go.
important to know and understand that there's a difference between somebody who's a licensed carrier versus an unlicensed carrier.
We don't have licenses in Texas, do we anymore?
Yes. We have signage for both.
Oh, for 30-06 and
30-06, 30-7, and 30-5.
Yeah, 30-6 is a licensed carrier.
And 30-6 and 7 is concealed and open, and 30-5 is all carry.
And if you want
Require licenses to carry.
Right.
Yes.
But
But
there's
for
a big difference
reciprocity
between
with
being a
other states,
licensed
you
carrier.
have to
have to respect the properties.
So we will disclose this
Okay,
here.
yeah, thank
So
you for that.
and that's critical, because if you missed a sign because you were lugging luggage and showed up this morning carrying,
Yeah,
you could face significant penalties.
okay.
You still are legally allowed to carry from your car into your hotel room.
Yes, because it
Right.
was your temporary,
You keep it in the hotel room.
yeah.
And that's the problem, right? Hotel room kind of falls under
Okay,
the
let's
castle.
limit the cost out. Mr.
Yeah.
Walker, you're up. Did you raise your hand for a question?
I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Carson.
So I just wanted to piggyback off that real quick. So from here on forever till we die or whatever, that there's going to be a
I'll make a notice of when it gets posted, whether or not there's carry at the hotel.
and well, not only that, but I was more so concerned with, I think, making it a priority, not priority, but making it to where, for example, I'm just throwing the hypothetical here. When we were talking about convention and where we would go, it would have been helpful to know, hey, this prohibits carry, this one doesn't, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, it did.
Well, yeah, I know. We didn't know for all of the other properties. We didn't know.
No, it was on the list, yeah, like we knew each property that we presented at the,
Well, we didn't see that.
I'm fairly certain
I
that
don't
was.
think we got to see that.
It was not.
It was on the fourth, right?
The committee's report.
Right. So that's what I'm
So
saying.
that was the committee, not the events report.
So you're saying
Right.
when Slec is going to be choosing between options, you want that detail?
That would be helpful to
Yes.
know, yes, for convention and also quarterly meetings as well. Can we try to get places?
Yes.
If at all possible.
We've already
Yeah.
stated that.
We're not,
Is Select
John,
involved
we're
in
not
selecting?
paid.
Select-
They are.
That's what I thought.
Yes, thank you. All right. Anyone else who can recognize something? Wonderful.
Thank you, everybody.
And split it for Whitney.
No, I would appreciate it. Some of the forum.
It's a restitution.
All right, there we go. So for anyone who can see the agenda earlier, you may note I have the shortest time slot, but that's not good enough for me. I'm going to really try and get the record here on shortest important. The long and short of the whole thing is if you look at our affiliate percentages from the last report, which was not the last meeting before, because I didn't see the last meeting. We've dropped by 2 counties, which is not good. Good news is we have 2 counties in process who are only waiting on paperwork to come back signed, and then they will be official, which puts us at even. I don't know if even is exactly the place we want to be, but if you look, we're 90% of the population. So, like, we're really edging out for that last 10% at this point.
The paperwork being in process, we're waiting on the county chairs to do their part. It's not a mine.
Anastasia's not in this. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't get the details at that point. One thing that I will note on the point of paperwork is there's recently been an offer for administrative change so in the past, the affiliate support department has done all the administrative work up to sending the paperwork. There's been an offer to move the paperwork side into our department, which gives us more visibility on exactly what part of the process that paperwork is in. And it's been accepted by Lisa. She's a rock star, so hopefully that transition happens soon and we'll have more clarity at that point of where the paperwork is from there on. We are still continuing with.
Yes.
Second question, do you know who, to get that last 10% that you were talking about, I think that is a great goal for us to chip away at, to try to get that number down. What is the most populated, unaffiliated county in Texas?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, Andrew, you were asking about a county earlier that we need to get affiliated.
Give me just a second. It's out of the top 20 counties in population, it's the only one we don't have affiliated.
If you could, I will come back to that question when Andrew has that information.
It's Webb.
Are we sure? Do we need to lay anything on the table?
You know what? If you want to make a motion.
Listen, if you want to lay on the table. I feel like you're dying to. Amanda.
Billy asked my question because I was wondering where in East Texas, because you know that's where I'm from.
So a lot of you know my situation. I'm from Franklin County to Hopkins County. Hopkins County is a much bigger county, more libertarian friendly. I've been very active in that county for a very long time, even though that county is not active. Before the end of this year, I am going to move my affiliation to that. Because are we thinking about any kind of special process where there's someone like me, hypothetically, where I'm going from one county to one county over where I'm extremely active in, and am I still going to have to go through the process? Or is it going to be a situation where, your department and the executives can say, no, we're pretty sure this is going to be fine?
So, I guess really abrupt answer to that question. Currently, our policy does not have a special exception.
Right.
It would be the same process. Although I have seen in the past, my experience, there's no guarantee of anything, a lot of expediency and indifference given to people who have previously been county chairs.
Okay.
In other words, it's still go through the process, but it is. It's
usually people decide a lot quicker on those.
Okay. All right. So who's interviewing?
I will, but we're going to
Mr.
Ross.
This is more of just a reminder and suggestion to the body. As we're getting closer to convention, one of the things we got to make sure is dotting our I's and crossing our T's too, as far as the election code and getting our conventions announced. So if you would help our department and obviously if you are a county chair, stay on top of it, but in the counties that are also in Senate districts, you will help us to, we'll be doing trainings on all that, but that is the biggest time when we have people fall off, it's just not properly announcing or properly holding their precinct and county conventions. So that's where all the attrition comes from in most
And properly announcing means how many days in front of?
10 days.
We went from losing 50% of our counties in 2020 to losing 2% of our counties last year.
And I want to follow up on that and say our entire department is centered around affiliating counties, helping them improve their county processes, and retaining counties. This is our job. If you're having trouble, if you're not sure what to do, please contact us. This is the reason we're doing this.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley, Mr. Miller, Mr. Lozano.
With everybody in here, I had a question. Is there maybe a monthly training that the affiliate committee is doing on perhaps Zoom on Sundays at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, actually, I briefly mentioned, but I don't think I gave enough time to that. So let me reiterate. Jacob Bradley actually.
That guy's a cool guy.
He held his first training on L2 on March 22nd. And I'll let you know, he has training plans all the way through January.
It was so good. This training is
But most
good.
importantly, and most prominently, November 19th is the next one. That's like a week and a day. So y'all show up and attend.
So, earlier there was some discussion about the amount of time before conventions that somebody could still have affiliated county, but I want to get straight. For instance, let's say Monday, I have somebody who says, I'd like to be the Grimes County chair, at least temporarily, and so we can hold a convention in March. Do they have enough time to go through that process in order to have that ready to go for conventions in March?
So one of the things that's at the very end of my presentation, I didn't mention it because it was in my last one, but there's a little footnote here about wanting to establish a policy of when the deadline was. That hasn't happened, so I don't have an official number for you, but I'll tell you our internal kind of, or my department internal kind of feeling is 30 days before precinct convention is kind of our deadline to say we can get that process in time. If you do it after that, I don't want to say for sure like we won't do it, but it's iffy if it's going to get through. So.
Mr. Lozano?
Well, that was my question. So it's 30 days before precinct?
Oh.
That's kind of what we're aiming for. We would like you guys to establish a policy that more clearly defines that, but that's what we're aiming for is 30 days.
I did. So the primary thing about having a deadline for county chairs to apply to be county chairs is the period of time that it takes to get them through the process, and then the deadline by which counties have to file for their notification of the date and time of their precinct and county conventions. That's the only reason that we have a deadline, is so that we're not trying to like cram people through the process and not actually give them the consideration that they deserve in that process.
So that's really more like 40 days then?
Yeah.
In advance. So it counts as a exact notification. All right, time has expired.
Motion, do we have anybody else on the list?
No. Thank you for asking. So the next thing is legal update. There hasn't really been any movement, at least that I'm aware of, on the federal lawsuit that we entered in 2 years ago, where we are co-plaintiffs with other parties and other organizations and independent candidates. That was being handled by Oliver Hall, who, as far as I know, might still be the LNC's attorney. I don't know that for sure. And then the other one that we entered into on our own with 7 or 8 of our candidates in 2020. We were in the process of amending our pleadings, which the state did not oppose, and the state, meaning the defendants, did not oppose. The court was, going to allow it. And the reason that we needed to do that was to bring our pleadings and our claims up to current law, which is still total shit.
Yes.
So we were actually very secure in being allowed to do that because it made sense that we still have the same claims. It hasn't changed, but it's actually worse.
Yeah.
The situation is actually worse. So we were in the process of doing that. The state then, about 10 days ago, filed a motion to dismiss the defendants, Attorney General's office. Filed a motion to dismiss. So now we have until December 15th to respond to that, which we are actively working on. And I'll present more on that when I can. Obviously, not all of our strategies we can talk about here in a public session, but right now we don't need an executive session for it. The plaintiffs, the candidates in the original lawsuit, are aware of what's happening, and we're in communication with the attorneys about it. I will also say that this coming week, on Tuesday and Thursday, the Secretary of State, which if you were a county chair, you should have gotten an email from me that I forwarded you from the Secretary of State with what I believe is going to be a one-way webinar about the process for filing and paying fees for county chairs and I guess state chair. And then the Thursday one seems, based on the title of it, maybe more geared towards candidates, but I'm not sure about that yet, so I didn't want to blast that out to people and create a bunch of confusion and invite a bunch of potential candidates to something that may or may not be relevant, so I'm still trying to get more information on it. But county chairs, you should have gotten that email from me. I'm going to attend most of those. I assume they're an hour, they're at 6 p.m. There's a link and an access code in what I sent you. So we'll see. Those sessions are going to be recorded as well and supposedly available on Secretary of State's website when it's all over. Obviously, I will be watching that for anything that will be useful to us in our lawsuit, and also useful to those of us who have to facilitate this filing process for our candidates. So that is all I have on legal. Mr. Wilford?
Yeah, so you mentioned the submittal to dismiss, I think I'm using the word.
A motion to dismiss.
A motion to dismiss. And our response, I know this thing has gone on for a while. The law has significantly changed since we started. It's been over a decade now, hasn't it?
We entered into the first lawsuit in 2018. That one did not originally include the filing fees because those weren't enacted until 19. So that's why we created a new lawsuit
So 5
that was
years.
specifically focused on this.
Yeah.
For that longer one, yeah.
Yeah. I know that particular lawsuit is being paid for by a nonprofit who was headed up by. Is it the current lawyer for National? I don't think.
No, he is. He's the one that I interact with and represents us mostly, but it is a Dallas law firm that is actually like of record. They are the attorneys of record on there, but our representation is Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver.
And the Center for Competitive Democracy.
Yeah, Oliver originally got involved. I think the law firm got involved a little bit later in the lawsuit. So my larger point is that's all being paid for, most importantly, not by us.
Correct.
Have we seen any sign that they may be ready to let go of that, or are they still strong?
No, sir. They, in fact, are, there's no reason for us to ever think we will pay for any of that. It is being funded by generous donors who support the Center for Competitive Democracy. And as of right now, our side is in the process of filing a cross appeal. So they're actively working on basically relooking at everything that was in that lawsuit, which is basically, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but the entire ballot access scheme in Texas, which includes now the fees. We got relief, as some of you may remember, Judge Pittman ruled that the state could no longer make us use paper petitions. Yet, when the two sides, ours and the defendants, put forth their proposal for what we will do instead, Judge Pittman favored ours. We won that particular thing. He didn't rule on any of the other stuff. And the state obviously appealed the judge's choice to use our method. And our side has basically decided to cross appeal and basically bring up everything else that didn't get ruled on previously, which I actually dispute. I only one plaintiff in that case, and also I represent the only plaintiff that actually has a stake in that. We're the only ones that actually stand to lose something. If the door gets slammed on us in that lawsuit, it'll be serious. And but it didn't make sense for us to draw from it either. So.
Well, unfortunate on the cross field, but great news on being supported.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Alrighty, we have break.
Before 85 minutes. Budget.
Yeah, we're about to have an 85-minute basic walk, so I have a motion for 15-minute recess.
Second.
Actions. Okay, so your recess until.
Hey.
All right.
Appropriate.
2:03.
Yeah.